All right, so we're diving into some seriously cool strategies for mastering English. You've handed me a stack of tips and tricks,
Yeah.
and I am so ready to unpack them with you.
And I'm excited to add the why to the what. Like, why do these strategies work? How do they tap into how our brains actually learn languages? So whether you're just beginning or you're kind of looking to, step up your game, this deep dive is about making English click.
I love that. No, we've all heard that classic advice,
Right.
immerse yourself in the language.
Right.
But who has time to just pick up and move to England?
Yeah, I mean, who can just move to another country?
Right.
Immersion can be a lot simpler than that. And you're probably surrounded by a lot more English than you even realize. Like,
Sure.
think about it. Podcasts, shows, music.
Yeah.
Even just scrolling through social media. It's
Yeah.
like you're constantly training your brain.
That's what they said. Training your brain.
Yeah.
The more you see it, the more you hear it in actual natural settings.
Yeah.
The less foreign it feels.
Yeah, exactly. And that's because your brain's starting to pick up on the patterns without you even realizing it.
So immersion is key.
Yeah.
But our sources also highlight another really powerful tool, reading. And I have to admit, this one's a personal favorite of mine.
Oh, nice. So reading is really cool because not only are you learning new words,
Yes.
but it shows you how to put sentences together, how grammar works in actual, real life scenarios. So it's like a backstage pass to how the language is actually working.
And you don't have to feel like you're, cracking open the books.
Right.
Our source specifically recommended starting with something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a light novel, a blog about one of your hobbies,
Right.
even just reading captions on funny memes.
Yeah, absolutely. Make it a habit. Make it something that you look forward to doing. And as your skills grow, you can always challenge yourself with something a little bit more difficult.
So you're basically leveling up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you start with the easier levels and work your way up.
Okay. So this next tip is something that I wish I had known sooner.
Okay.
Think in phrases,
Oh, yeah.
not just individual words.
I agree.
This is a game changer.
It is, because learning isolated words is really important. But to speak fluently, you need to start thinking in chunks in these bigger pieces of language.
Right.
Our source gave a great example.
Okay.
Instead of just learning the word how are, and you learn how are you,
Yes.
and that instantly makes you sound more natural and fluent.
That's so true. And it takes the pressure off your brain when you're speaking.
Yes.
Because instead of trying to think, okay, how do I formulate this sentence word by word, you have these ready-made phrases.
Exactly. And you just pull it out of your toolbox.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And the more you practice, the bigger that toolbox gets.
It does. It does.
Okay, speaking of practice, I know a lot of people dread this, but there's just no way around it.
Right.
Speaking practice is essential.
Yeah, I can see why people would be intimidated by that. But honestly, everybody makes mistakes. When they're learning a language, the key is to embrace those mistakes as opportunities to learn.
Our source actually said, it's kind of like learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall a few times, but with practice, you find that balance.
Right.
And you just start riding smoothly.
And the more you speak, the more confident you become.
Right.
And our source had a lot of different options for getting this practice in. Things like language exchange, apps, online platforms. You could find a conversation partner or even join a local language group.
Oh, that's
Key is just to find something that works for you and stick with it.
Yeah, I love that. And, don't underestimate the power of listening.
Yes.
I feel like that's such a crucial part,
It's so crucial.
but it's often overlooked.
It is. When you're listening to native speakers, you are absorbing so much more than just the words. You are picking up pronunciation, rhythm, intonation, even the subtle nuances of different accents. It's like training your ear to decode the music of the language.
Oh, I love that. So our sources recommended listening to English songs, podcasts, news broadcasts, anything that exposes you to a variety of speakers and accents.
And even if you don't understand every single word, your brain is working in the background, making connections and building comprehension skills.
Right.
It's like a workout for your ears.
Okay, so we've covered immersion reading, thinking in phrases, speaking, and listening.
A lot.
That all leads to one very crucial point.
Okay.
Consistency is key.
It is.
You got to make English a regular part of your life, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Exactly. It's not about cramming for hours once a week. It's about those small, consistent efforts that build up over time.
Right.
Our source suggested aiming for just 10 to 15 minutes a day.
Wow.
Think of it like watering a plant.
Okay.
A little bit each day will help it thrive.
Yeah,
It's all about, strengthening those pathways in the brain, making it easier and easier to access and use the language.
I love that analogy.
Mm.
And speaking of things that take time and effort, our sources also emphasize another really important element: patience.
Ah, patience. The unsung hero of language learning. It's so easy to get discouraged when you don't see results right away,
Right.
but it's so important to remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Our source actually said it's like climbing a mountain.
Oh, yeah.
You don't see the peak right away,
Right.
but every step you take is getting you closer to the top.
Exactly.
And it's those small victories along the way.
Yeah.
Learning a new phrase or understanding a podcast a little bit better,
Mhm.
those are the things that are going to keep you motivated.
Exactly. It's about celebrating those small wins and recognizing how far you've come. And remember, every mistake is a learning opportunity. Every stumbling block is a chance to, try a different approach.
I think that's such an important point. It's so easy to get caught up in the idea of perfection,
Right.
but in reality, it's those imperfections
Yeah,
that actually help us grow.
precisely. And it's important to be kind to yourself throughout the process. Learning a language is a challenge, and there will be ups and downs. But with persistence and a positive attitude, you can achieve anything.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Let's recap those key takeaways just to make sure they really stick.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so first up,
Yeah.
immersion. Surround yourself with English as much as possible.
Yes.
Podcasts, movies, music,
Yeah.
even changing the language settings on your phone.
Uh,
Just make it a natural part of your everyday life.
exactly.
Okay, next up, embrace the power of reading.
Oh, yeah.
Find material that you actually enjoy
Right.
and make it a habit.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to start big. Start small and gradually challenge yourself with more complex text.
And remember, think in phrases,
Yes.
not just individual words. Build that language toolbox.
Fill it up.
Yeah, filled with those ready-made chunks of fluency.
And speaking of fluency, speaking practice is absolutely crucial.
It is.
Find a partner, join a group, try an app.
Yeah.
The options really are endless.
They are.
And remember, don't be afraid to make those mistakes.
Right.
They're all part of the learning process.
Absolutely. And don't forget about listening.
Yeah.
Train your ears by tuning into English podcasts, music news broadcasts.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be amazed at how much you actually absorb without even realizing it.
Right. And last but not least, consistency and patience.
Ooh, those are big ones.
Those are the big ones. They're your secret weapons.
Yeah.
Make English a regular part of your routine, even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes a day.
Right.
And remember, language learning is a journey,
It is.
not a race.
Now, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you.
Okay.
What's one small step you can take today
Ooh.
to actually put these tips into action? Maybe download a language learning app, find a new podcast,
Right.
or dust off that book you've been meaning to read.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be anything huge,
Right.
just a small action to get the ball rolling.
Just get started.
Because every little step
Yeah.
brings you closer to fluency. And you know what they say about journeys?
Oh, what's that?
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. We've talked about all the practical stuff,
Mhm.
but there's this one underlying element
Okay.
that can either make or break your success.
Ooh, I love a good cliffhanger. Lay it on me.
It all comes down to mindset.
Okay.
It's about believing in yourself, believing that you can do this.
Hmm.
It's about embracing the challenges and seeing mistakes as opportunities to grow.
That's so true. It's
Yeah.
not about being perfect. It's just about being persistent
Right.
and having a positive attitude.
Exactly. It reminds me of something I read in one of our sources about how our brains are actually wired for language learning.
Wow. Really?
It's true. Our brains are incredibly adaptable.
Yeah.
And with the right approach, anybody can learn a new language.
Absolutely. So go out there, embrace the journey, and remember, you got this.
You got this. And remember to have fun along the way.
That's a wrap for today's deep dive into the world of English learning. We hope you've learned some cool new stuff and are feeling super motivated.
Thanks for joining us, and happy learning.